Well, at 10 minutes past 8 a.m., we kick off this morning and take a look at fake police hijackings. And this was an incident that had taken place on the N3 between Villiers and Heidelberg. We're going now to be joined by a member of the executive committee of the Gauteng Provincial Community Police Board, Dr. Mikail Reza Patel. Dr. Patel, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Juma Mubarak to you and welcome.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Inayat. Thank you for
Yes,
having me.
Dr. Patel, I think the whole question surrounding fake police hijackings, and clearly it's not only happened on the N3, but we know of late a lot of it is actually taking place. Policemen posing or fake policemen posing as policemen, blue lights, all of this at the end of the day. And clearly, what has happened on the N3, a very, very sad situation, but very, very concerning as well.
Jay, it is very concerning, and we must also unpack that story about fake versus real. In some of the instances, we're getting to know that it's real policemen that are involved in these things. And yes, that incident that you referred to did occur. It's a most unfortunate incident for that couple. I can just imagine the amount of trauma they must have been suffering and still suffer. And the loss of a child is no joke, I think that everyone would agree that when there's a loss of life, notwithstanding the age, but when there's a loss of life, one grieves terribly. But when you add trauma to this and you add the torture related thereto, I mean, that wasn't a joke. That was people being taken into phosphorus and being tortured, etc. That was not polite at all. So it's not the first time, though. I want to tell you that we've had many instances of this kind of blue light robbery on that particular stretch between Villiers and Heidelberg, but not limited to there, Inayat.
Yes, and also I think when one looks at the timing of this again, this happened in the evening, and we know that many people now try to avoid traveling in the evening, particularly when we're talking about hotspots. Like you mentioned, this area has been notorious for these type of incidents.
Well, not just that area, but Inayat, if you look at the N12, for example, and the people coming from Urgis and that direction coming to Benoni, they've stopped traveling at night. When the sun sets, they're already at home, or they will stay here overnight and leave during the day. It's had a massive impact because on all arterioles, be it the N12 heading towards Witbank side, be it the R59 going towards Vereniging, be it the N3 from Villiers to Heidelberg, even the Nigel Road, the road that goes to Nigel from past Benoni. I think it's the R103, if I'm not mistaken. These are all synonymous to these blue light hijackings, but not limited to there. You're having the same at OR Tambo Airport, where there seems to be clandestine groups that operate there. I've recently had an incident where at Babsfontein, a truck from Karen Meat was hijacked by police. The video footage shows you police vehicles, it shows you uniformed members of the police, and so on. Now, to believe that these members are fake police is very difficult for me because the vehicle is marked, the members are wearing uniform, it is in the area where the marking says it's from. So these are the difficulties we faced with. What is real and what is not real, Inayat?
Yes, and also I think when one looks at the modus operandi and the way they operate, like you mentioned, they put you through a lot of trauma, and apart from just the psychological trauma that people suffer, again, the loss of their material possessions, like in the case what had actually happened, their bank cards, PIN codes, money was withdrawn, clothes, cell phones, laptops that were taken, all of that. And to add to this is we had a pregnant woman who lost her baby.
Yeah. Yeah, the loss of life is a priority for me. Life and limb is above anything materialistic. We can replace bank cards and get some money back, and we can get our vehicle, which is maybe insured or not. We can buy these things. But a life is something you cannot buy. So, Inayat, it's very difficult here at this time when you estimate where you're traveling. try travel during the hours where the sun is out and there are many people. I think the most important thing is that if you're traveling, attempt to befriend people along the way, wherever you meet them, and try and travel in a convoy if you have to at night, especially in the areas that I just mentioned now. So if you have several vehicles and you have these blue light people, they loathe to want to pull you over because you're more than one vehicle. Generally, you'll find that they corner you when you're all alone.
Yes, and also I think the key issue here is we heard of warnings being issued that people are told not to stop. Now, how does one actually make that decision, particularly when people are posing as cops? You've got the blue light flashing, you've been asked to pull over. How does one actually make that decision whether to stop or not to stop? And, obviously, there are risks associated with not stopping as well.
Well, the issue is if you don't stop and they are legitimate police, it is very likely that you may lose your life. They might go to the extent of shooting at you or pulling your vehicle over forcibly or something of that nature. So we're sitting in a catch 22 here where anyone can give you advice telling you go for the nearest, most visible place with the most amount of lights. But you've got to explain to me, Inayat, with that route that those people were traveling where the child was lost, where's the light? There's no light there. It's just a road and the lights are on your car, and that's all you have. So, where are you going to actually go to? And if you don't stop, and if it is truly police, that's another story. So, it's important at this time with the network, we're busy developing the actual mapping to see the correct places where these guys are operating, and we putting out the intelligence required to source the information where we can actually pass it on to the authorities and say to them, look, here's the pictures of these particular vehicles that are parked there, these are the reg numbers and so on. But for anybody, including myself, notwithstanding who I represent or where I am, even a policeman himself, if he gets pulled over, if he's on a highway and blue lights pull him over, he can't not stop. And this is the big thing. And don't be fooled by the fact people tell you don't stop, race away, go. That's a gamble that you're actually doing at that point. Nobody can give you advice on whether to stop or not. It's all gut. You have a look, you see what they're driving. Perhaps yes, if you're driving one of these high end vehicles with a V8 and or V6 and they're driving just a normal Hilux, that's got a smaller engine, maybe you can, decisively say, I'll race away from these people and I'll go to a safer place and they can find me there. But, that's highly unlikely that we'll make a decision at that time. So it's very, very difficult on whether or not you should stop.
Well, certainly, and also depending on where you are, because sometimes there is considerable distance between the towns. For example, between Villiers and Heidelberg, or if you're going between Villiers and say Warden, or wherever it is, possibly a distance of 70, 80, it could be even 100 kilometers. I mean,
Mhm.
how does one actually make a decision as to where to stop, particularly when you've got this huge distance to cover?
Yeah, very much so. And also what happens is when you in that situation, Inayat, what happens is that you lose all focus on the things that you are supposed to absorb, such as a registration number, a name, a call sign on the vehicle. Was it SAP or was it Metro Police? These are the different things that one needs to assimilate information on in order that we may effectively have the police search for these people. Because it's not just the South African police that's doing this. You've got Gauteng traffic police, whether they're impersonators or not, I can't say that again, but they're doing that. You've got Metro Police that are doing that. So you've got various law enforcement agencies, and one cannot say whether they are fake police or not, because in some of these instances where arrests have occurred, these are true policemen, as is the example of the one that I indicated to you earlier.
Yes, Dr. Patel, I'm going to put you on hold. We're going to come back because what I'd like to also focus on is looking at it from a police perspective in terms of, how they view this, and more importantly, what sort of mechanisms could they actually put into place to try and prevent these type of incidents from taking place. So I'll put you on hold. We're going to go for a quick ad break.
Sure.
This is Salam Media.
Imagine a world where every child feels loved, secure, and cared for. At Beit Halima Sadia Orphanage, we are not just providing a roof over their heads, we're giving orphan children a chance for a brighter future. For just 1,500 rands a month or 18,000 rands a year, you can sponsor an orphan and transform their life. Your contribution covers essentials like food, clothing, tuition, therapy, and more, ensuring they grow in a nurturing, supportive environment. Any donation is accepted as well as daily scheduled donations. EFT directly into our account. Beit Halima Sadia Orphanage, First National Bank, account number 6313-1080-078, branch code 250737, Section 18A registered. Take this step today. Contact Sister Nazarene at 083 653 5669 or email info@bhscycc.co.za.
You know, it's a wonder how kids get anything done these days. With all the distractions, when do they even get time to study? As a mother, all I can really do is make sure they have all they need to perform at their best. That's why I choose to include Sunfoil, triple refined pure sunflower oil with every meal I make. Naturally cholesterol-free and approved by the Heart and Stroke Foundation as part of a balanced eating plan. So whether I'm cooking, frying, or baking, I know every dish will be a wholesome one. Sunfoil, now we're cooking.
Penny Appeal's Education First campaign helps children to get access to quality education.
I'm 14 years old. When I grow up, I'd like to be a scientist.
We believe every child belongs at school,
And we want education, a better education.
learning and dreaming their way to a better future. With your help, we can provide classrooms, desks, stationery packs, and school shoes. Help make these dreams a reality. Visit www.pennyappeal.org.za or call 031 1100 573. Penny Appeal. Small change, big difference.
Discover the Africa of your dreams and surround yourself with her spectacular beauty. Relax beneath her serene sunsets and explore wildlife at its natural best. It's where the pride of Africa comes together. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve. Get to know the Big Five or cruise on an elephant safari game drive. Interact with lion and tiger cubs and enjoy world-class halal cuisine while we pamper you during your 5-star stay. Indulge in the true African experience. For reservations, call now on 042 203 1400 or visit kwantu.co.za. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve, the place of gathering.
Africa. Education, health, dignity, empowerment. These wishes all begin with water. Africa Muslims Agency is committed to providing clean water to the thousands who still live without this basic human right. Support us in giving the best of charities. Provide a water well for 16,500 rand or a borehole for 55,000 rand in Afghanistan or 65,000 rand in Africa. Gain Thawabi Jariyah and help communities to reach their full potential. Africa Muslims Agency, empowering, educating, inspiring.
Listen to something fresh. Listen to Salam Media.
Well, we continue with Dr. Mikail Reza Patel, about the incident that had taken place between Villiers and Heidelberg, where a family was traumatized for over 4 hours. And clearly, it was very traumatic. It was an ordeal where they were eventually dumped into a dump site, and where the vehicle took them between. They were it was between Heidelberg and Vosloorus and Villiers, but they were taken to Vosloorus, and sadly, a baby, unborn baby, the mother was pregnant, and she had basically lost a baby. But Dr. Patel, I just want to talk about. I'm sure this matter has been receiving attention at the highest level of the police services. And as you mentioned, that this is a problem not only limited to where this incident taken place. There are multiple incidents, and these are incidents that occur almost on a daily basis. Now, this matter being taken up with the powers that be, what are they saying? Is there any attempt even to try and do something about it, particularly the hotspots? I know in certain countries, I was in India as well, when one looks at surveillance, when one looks at cameras all over the show, even sometimes in the most rural of areas as well. Is there any form of actually monitoring, and particularly as far as surveillance is concerned? Surely, that could possibly be one of the answers to this problem.
Inayat, yes, we faced with a quandary again. Like I said before, the area is so wide and there's so much of road coverage that one doesn't know when these people are going to be at that particular point. It may be frequent that they do, in fact, perpetrate these crimes, but the level of frequency isn't a consistent one. So they might do it today, and for the next 3 days they're not there, and then they're there again, etc. But the prioritization of this particular thing is at the highest level. I can assure you of that. As regards the loss of life, remember, when there's a loss of life, the case never closes. Charge for murder never abrogates. So, in this particular instance, this case will be, even in 50 years' time, if we receive any form of information that can assist the case, it will be reopened and it will be studied again, and prosecution can occur. So it never prescribes in this particular instance. But how do how do you look at a picture of crimes occurring everywhere and trying to assist in the management thereof? Now, if you look at the road that they were traveling on, that's the N3. The N3 has got Sanral cameras, but there's a reality here. Many of these people are using clone plates. So you'll find that the reg number on that particular vehicle, it may match another vehicle with the same detail and so on, but it's not the same people. So you'll go, for example, my registration on my BM may appear on another BMW on the highway, and you come after me, and I'll tell you, but I've been here the whole day. Ask Inayat; he'll tell you I was in an interview with him as well. So this is what's happening at the moment: the theft of number plate identities called clones, and in a number of instances, the reg number on the vehicle doesn't even match the car itself. So what we have is something called ANPR. These are cameras that read number plates, and they're able to tell you a warning. This vehicle doesn't match the description as per the native system. The vehicle comes out on a truck or a motorbike or something like that. There's also this thing about hijacked vehicles, where the system can tell us that a vehicle's been hijacked. We can even put into the system a geofencing to say make, model, color, and warn us when this make, model, color is in that environment. Now, Inayat, if you look at the scale of work that needs to be done, where I just mentioned a few to you, such as the Nigel Road, the N17 is no exception. Up to Tonk meter. You're familiar with Tonk meter,
Yes.
the entry to Gauteng. You'll find that people are getting hijacked right just before that. So it's the N12, it's the N17, it's the N3, it's the Nigel Road, it's the airport environment, it's R59, it's all over. So where do we focus this attention, and how do we do it? So if, for example, we are able to focus just on one area, and if we were to be able to analyze the area and then provide the necessary support, we would utilize ANPR, we would utilize drones, we would utilize the necessary authorities to be able to go there and have a visible presence. But these are merely deterrents, Inayat. They're not something, there's a culture that's been set now in circles. Some of these circles are the police circles themselves. They themselves are involved in these particular crimes. So, fake police, I'm not entirely sure anymore. Some of them are fake, but then what about those that are, in fact, policemen and they're perpetrating these crimes? So, very difficult question, Inayat. What can they do? Because the area is too vast. There's Pretoria that has dramas, there's Lenasia that has dramas. Where does one focus?
Exactly. But also, I think, what is important is this has become quite sophisticated, this type of crime as well that is being perpetrated as well. And I'm just looking at a world of technology. Like you have at home, you've got an alarm system, you've got a panic button as well. And we know that, we've got a lot of things like car tracking and the car tracking companies as well. And, perhaps. That could possibly be one of the answers as well in terms of alerting, in like a panic button type of thing, with the car. And then, so I'm sure, technology can actually do something about at least, even at the very least, alerting that, what, possibly I could be in danger, or, there could be a possible incident that I may obviously be victim of.
Mm. Yes, look, we have certain people who have asked us for, technology to assist them, and we've given that to them, and we've been very successful. There's technology out there that you wear on your pocket, you put as a buttonhole, you put it as a anything, you just drop it in your jacket, in your bag, wherever. And if there's ever this kind of thing that occurs, we are able to track you. We're even able to listen in on the conversation that's occurring there. Once we hear there's an activation, we also have an app which the government's introduced now, the Gauteng e-panic app, which people can have for free. There's also Safer City, where there's a cost implication, and Safer City also does the same thing as what the government does in the form of tracking and support, etc. Remember, every time you talk about technology or you talk about any form of technological assistance, there's a cost factor to it, Inayat. But it is definitely available. We have, in Gauteng, if you look at the network we've built, we have 18 command centers, Inayat. And these command centers are all the way from Roshni to Lenasia, all the way to Rand West Municipality. It comes to Benoni, goes to Boksburg North, to Boksburg, Germiston, you name it. On the peripheries, we have a total of 18 of them, and these ones track, they trace, they provide support. The technology is high end. They've got ANPR. So if Inayat Wadi, gets missing a little bit, I fear that we may find him very quickly. But, that's based on ANPR. That's based on the likelihood that you may have been driving on a road where there are cameras. But now you're finding that there are many areas where they don't have ANPR. They don't have these cameras. There's nothing in the area. So, for example, that Nigel Road that they're always dumping people on, or that Phosphorus patch where they're dropping people on, there are no cameras there. And these guys know that there's no cameras and they're using that. But Sanral has cameras on the N3 all over. And we could go into those camera footages and have a look at, how many cars were there behind, what those cars were, how many cars in front of your car, all their registration details and so on. But like I said, in a lot of the instances, the number plates are cloned. So you may pitch up on the doorstep of an innocent person accusing them of something. In some instances, it's helped us because people were stupid enough to use their own car to perpetrate a crime with the correct number plate. So technology can help. You see, I wanted to say, Inayat, and that's without being mean to our communities. We would no sooner to go and buy a whole plate of prawns that cost us 1,000 rand than invest in something that will be 100 rand a month that may track you and save your life. And I think these are the practicalities that we've got to come to. People don't want to spend on things like this. People are not interested in spending monies on safety and security. That is why you'll find there are areas where people are very serious about this. They would no sooner spend on that than spend on luxuries. And in other areas, we just laid back, and we're not prepared to spend the smallest rand, leave alone what the actual cost is in it.
Yes, Reza, just I'm just thinking, how many people are actually aware of some of these options that are available to them? And we know that there's a fair amount of sophistication as far as the CPFs are concerned, local community police forums as well, very, very active in their areas. And perhaps it is time or I would say from time to time, to serve these reminders to people that this is available, and get people to actually buy in, perhaps some sort of roadshow, public awareness. Would that help?
It always helps in it, where you'll find that we talk about people not wanting to, but in that crowd of not wanting to, some of them are oblivious of these things. You're right. And some of them need to understand what these things can do for them. So in our sphere, and I must just tell you, I'm very proud of our communities, because many of the guys are very well skilled when it comes to this kind of technology. And it would surprise me if you get a person who says, "Oh, I didn't know that this thing existed." But as a process of elimination, one would go to communities and say to them, "Are you aware there are these different options? Select one. It may save your life." We won't promote any singular one, but if you wanted, these are the things. Why don't you subscribe to that? And it'll be a safer route, especially in light of kidnappings, not just the hijackings.
Well, certainly. And just finally, advice to motorists.
Well, you got to plan your journey in a smart way. One would ideally, especially the roads that I mentioned, the arterials coming into Gauteng and leaving Gauteng, if you wanted to, and if it was going to be evening, ensure that you travel with hopefully a motorcade of people, even if it's 3, 5, 7, doesn't matter how many, but you have one another's backs, because these people don't converge on more than one vehicle. They single out a particular vehicle, they go for that vehicle. That's the first thing. The second thing is, if you can, avoid the roads at night. Don't travel. Once the sun is set, it's preferable for you not to be on the roads. The hijacking times are very erroneous. They're not something that somebody can predict, but what we're hearing is anytime after 12 o'clock at night, after 10 o'clock at night, until 3 in the morning, you will get hijacked, on those particular roads if you're traveling on them. So ensure that you try to travel before sunsets and after sunrises. And if you have to, try and travel in a convoy. And then, of course, if you are in any way cornered by people with blue lights, try and attempt to send out a signal or a message or some sort of video footage or something of some sort that will give an idea of what's happening there. Because we always hear afterward. You must remember, even the couple that were hijacked with the loss of the baby. And I feel so bitter for them, to lose a little one that hasn't even come into the world yet. It's actually horrible. And if we can get a message to somewhere, whether it's even if you're from Cape Town or Durban or somewhere, send a message to that group and say to them, "I've been stopped on the highway." Send a pin drop to them, tell them where it is. It's blue lights. I'm not sure what the outcomes are going to be. At least we know where, at that moment in time. And people can react to that. I've set up a task team. I've got Jeff Stein, who heads up the team for that area there. I've got our guys from Roshni Neighborhood Watch, who has a team that go out on that side. I've got Jamil and his team that's in Lenasia that go out. And on this side, I've got Hendrik and his team that will fly out. There's so many command centers, and they're all ready for some sort of notice that there is some sort of drama on the highway, please, can we go out? And guys, nobody wastes time. If there's a SOS that comes out, the people react to it. So communicate to a group or to somewhere where you know that people are observing something is going to happen here, and try and get the call sign number. On the vehicle, police vehicle, it will say SAPS from a certain place. Even if you get that, it's good. The number plate, if you can. On the vehicle, like for example, Benoni, the call sign for Benoni is BE, and it will have a number to it, BE10 or BE21 or 58, whatever it is. Try to get one of those. See if you can get these people's names if you can. Because, like I said to you, in some instances, these guys are real policemen, and we're looking right past them. So we need to expose them. Get the members to try and link up to their platforms where they're from and where they're going to. So on both instances, you notifying. If you're coming to me, at least I get a notification there's a drama somewhere. And where you left from, you're telling the people I've got a drama here where I am. And both sides know, and we can narrow that very easily. It's difficult to know what's happening. For some reason or other, these people know who's carrying what in their vehicles. It's an unusual thing. In some instances, it's opportunistic. They know they can get a couple of rands. They just go out there and exploit the people. In the instance of this recent one, it is so unfortunate again, that there's loss of life. So, advice to people is stay indoors. Well, not indoors, but stay off the hijack hotspots during those hours that I indicated, and try and communicate if you have to, and on both sides, where you're going to, where you're coming from, about any instance that may occur. Try and memorize these details that you can. Also, try and take pictures, try and take recordings, try everything that you can, but do not put your life in danger. Your life is more important than anything else. So that's the advice that I can give in Ayat.
Well, Jazakallah khairan so much for that, Dr. Reza Patel. Much appreciated. And also, you taking time out this morning with us right here on Salam Media. All the best to you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Dr. Mikail Reza Patel was us this morning, member of the Executive Committee, Gauteng Provincial Community Police Board.